If you're over 60 and you eat any of these 5 soups even once a week, you're playing with fire, and I'm going to prove it. In the next several minutes, I'll show you what industry insiders have revealed about how certain soup products may contribute to hypertension, yet this information often remains buried in complex labels. I'll expose the 5 soup types that some studies link to increased emergency room visits among seniors, and I'll reveal 5 healing soups that research suggests may help support healthy blood pressure naturally without medication. But first, check your pantry. If you have any thick, ready-made soups, rich, creamy varieties, or cream-based options, you need to hear this immediately. Now stop and think for a moment. After 60, your body doesn't work the way it did at 20. Your kidneys filter sodium more slowly. Your blood vessels have lost some elasticity. The mechanisms that regulate blood pressure have become more sensitive, so a soup that causes no problems in a younger body can create entirely different effects in your aging system. And this is where the danger begins. Because the soup industry formulates products for the general population. Specific warnings for people over 60, those with hypertension, or individuals on multiple medications typically appear in small print on the back of the label, if they appear at all. Some industry reports have emerged, and they reveal uncomfortable truths. Internal testing conducted by manufacturers showed that certain soup types could significantly raise blood pressure in older consumers. Yet these findings were not always fully shared with the public. Instead, labels use technical phrases like 50% of daily sodium to convey information. But what does this mean? With one bowl of soup, you've consumed half your daily salt limit in a single sitting. For a senior, this ratio is far more dangerous because kidneys cannot eliminate the excess sodium efficiently, blood vessels react immediately, and blood pressure can spike within hours. Let me walk you through the 5 soup types that deserve your attention. These are the most common varieties found in kitchens, seemingly innocent but carrying serious risks for those over 60. First, we need to talk about cream-based soups. Their smooth texture and satisfying taste make them very appealing, but the picture changes when you examine the ingredients. Most creamy soups don't just contain high sodium. They also harbor trans fats, hydrogenated oils, and artificial thickeners. When these components combine in an aging body, arterial stiffness increases, inflammation gets triggered, and blood pressure can show sudden elevations. One observational study found that older individuals consuming cream-based soups experienced an average increase of 12 to 15 points in systolic blood pressure within just a few hours. While this may seem like a temporary spike, with chronic consumption, the risk of lasting damage accumulates. Moreover, the dairy products used in creamy soups can cause digestive issues in some people, further fueling systemic inflammation. The second risk group includes thick, hearty meat-based ready-made soups. These are often marketed as filling and energizing, and they do deliver on that promise. But there's a hidden cost. These soups typically contain processed meats like sausage, bacon bits, or cured beef. Processed meats bring their own load of sodium, nitrates, and preservatives. Research has linked regular consumption of processed meats to elevated blood pressure and increased cardiovascular risk. When you combine processed meat with the already high sodium content of the soup base, you're creating a perfect storm for hypertension. Some seniors have reported feeling bloated, experiencing headaches, or noticing swelling in their ankles after eating these soups. These aren't random symptoms, they're your body's way of signaling sodium overload. Third on the list are noodle-based instant soups. They're convenient, quick to prepare, and seem harmless. But convenience comes at a price. Instant soup packets often contain flavor enhancers like monosodium glutamate and other additives that can affect blood pressure regulation. The noodles themselves are usually refined carbohydrates that cause blood sugar to spike, and for seniors with insulin sensitivity issues, this creates a cascade effect. Elevated blood sugar can lead to increased blood pressure, creating a vicious cycle. Additionally, The dehydrated vegetables in these soups have lost most of their nutritional value, so you're essentially consuming empty calories loaded with sodium and additives. A bowl may seem light, but its impact on your cardiovascular system is anything but. The fourth category involves canned vegetable soups with high sodium content. Now, you might think vegetable soup sounds healthy, and in principle it should be. But many canned versions are loaded with salt to enhance flavor and extend shelf life. A single serving can contain 800 to 1200 milligrams of sodium, sometimes even more. For someone over 60, especially if you're already managing blood pressure issues, this amount can push you over the edge. The vegetables themselves may provide some nutrients, but the excessive sodium negates much of the benefit. Some people mistakenly believe that because it's vegetable-based, they can eat larger portions. This only compounds the problem. Fifth, and perhaps most surprisingly, are so-called low-fat or diet soups. These products are marketed as healthier alternatives, but they often compensate for reduced fat content by adding extra sodium and sugar. Manufacturers know that fat carries flavor, so when they remove it, they need to replace that taste somehow. The result is a product that may be lower in calories, but significantly higher in components that affect blood pressure. Some of these soups also contain artificial sweeteners or sugar alcohols, which can cause digestive discomfort in older adults. The term diet or low fat on the label doesn't automatically mean it's safe for someone with hypertension concerns. Now, before you panic and throw out every soup in your house, let me shift gears. Not all soups are dangerous. In fact, certain types can actively support healthy blood pressure levels. These are soups you can make at home or occasionally find in stores if you read labels carefully. Let me introduce you to 5 healing soup options that research suggests may help lower blood pressure naturally. First, let's talk about homemade vegetable broth-based soups with no added salt. When you make soup from scratch using fresh vegetables like celery, carrots, tomatoes, and leafy greens, you're getting natural potassium, magnesium, and fiber. These nutrients work together to support healthy blood pressure. Potassium, in particular, helps balance sodium levels in your body. Studies have shown that diets rich in potassium can contribute to modest reductions in blood pressure. The key is to avoid adding salt during cooking. Instead, use herbs like basil, oregano, thyme, and garlic. Garlic, by the way, has been studied for its potential cardiovascular benefits, with some research suggesting it may help relax blood vessels. Second, consider beet-based soups. Beets contain natural nitrates, which your body converts into nitric oxide. Nitric oxide helps dilate blood vessels, improving blood flow, and potentially lowering blood pressure. Several small studies have found that drinking beet juice or consuming beets regularly may lead to reductions in systolic blood pressure. A beet soup made with onions, carrots, and a touch of lemon can be both delicious and beneficial. Some people find the earthy taste of beets unusual at first, but when combined with other vegetables and seasonings, it becomes quite pleasant. Third, lentil or bean-based soups offer another excellent option. Legumes are rich in fiber, protein, and minerals, like potassium and magnesium. They also have a low glycemic index, meaning they don't cause rapid blood sugar spikes. This is important because stable blood sugar helps maintain stable blood pressure. A simple lentil soup with tomatoes, cumin, and turmeric can be incredibly satisfying. Turmeric, incidentally, has anti-inflammatory properties that some researchers believe may support cardiovascular health. When you eat legume-based soups, you're not only nourishing your body but also supporting your digestive health, which is often compromised in older adults. Fourth, consider miso soup prepared with low-sodium miso paste. Traditional miso is fermented soybean paste, and while it does contain sodium, the fermentation process creates beneficial probiotics. Some studies suggest that fermented foods may have a different effect on blood pressure compared to regular salt. The key is to use a reduced sodium version and not add extra salt. You can enhance miso soup with tofu, seaweed, and green onions. Seaweed contains minerals like potassium and magnesium, which support healthy blood pressure. Some seniors find that miso soup aids digestion and provides a comforting, warm meal that's easy on the stomach. Finally, tomato-based soups made from fresh tomatoes can be a wonderful choice. Tomatoes are rich in lycopene, potassium, and vitamin C. Some research has explored the relationship between lycopene intake and cardiovascular health, with findings suggesting potential benefits. A homemade tomato soup with onions, garlic, and a drizzle of olive oil can be both nutritious and satisfying. Olive oil adds healthy monounsaturated fats, which some studies associate with better heart health. The combination creates a meal that's flavorful without relying on excessive salt. Now, you might be wondering how to transition from the soups you're currently eating to these healthier options. It doesn't have to be an overnight change. Start by reducing your consumption of high-sodium ready-made soups. Maybe cut back from 3 times a week to once a week, then once every 2 weeks. Meanwhile, experiment with making one homemade soup per week. It doesn't have to be complicated. A simple vegetable soup with whatever fresh produce you have on hand can be prepared in under an hour. If cooking feels overwhelming, consider batch cooking. Make a large pot of soup and freeze individual portions. This way, you have healthy options ready when you need them. When shopping for soups, if you must buy ready-made versions, become a label detective. Look for options with less than 300 milligrams of sodium per serving. Check the ingredient list for additives, preservatives, and hydrogenated oils. The fewer ingredients, the better. Some brands now offer low sodium or no salt added versions, though you'll need to verify the labels carefully. Be aware that reduced sodium doesn't always mean low sodium. It just means lower than the original version, which might still be quite high. It's also worth discussing your diet with your healthcare provider. If you're on blood pressure medication, certain dietary changes may affect how your medication works. Your doctor might need to adjust your dosage as your diet improves. Some seniors have found that after adopting a lower sodium diet rich in vegetables and legumes, their blood pressure improved enough that their doctor reduced their medication. This doesn't happen for everyone, but it's a possibility worth exploring under medical supervision. Let's address another important point. Some people worry that low-sodium soups will taste bland. This is a common concern, but it's often based on outdated cooking methods. Modern culinary techniques show that you can create intensely flavored soups without salt. Roasting vegetables before adding them to soup brings out natural sweetness and depth. Using fresh herbs, spices like cumin and coriander, and acidic components like lemon juice or vinegar can brighten flavors significantly. Garlic, ginger, and onions form a flavor base that requires no salt. Nutritional yeast adds a savory, almost cheesy flavor without dairy or salt. With a bit of experimentation, you may find that homemade soups taste far better than anything from a can. If you're concerned about the time investment, consider using a slow cooker or pressure cooker. These appliances make soup preparation nearly effortless. You can toss ingredients in the morning and return home to a ready meal. Pressure cookers, in particular, reduce cooking time dramatically, turning dried beans into tender soup components in under an hour. Many seniors find that once they establish a routine, making soup becomes a relaxing, even meditative activity. Another practical tip involves portion control. Even healthy soups should be eaten in reasonable amounts. A bowl, not a pot. Pair your soup with a small salad or a piece of whole grain bread to create a balanced meal. This approach ensures you're getting a variety of nutrients while keeping sodium intake in check. Now, let's return to the bigger picture. Why does all of this matter so much after 60? Because high blood pressure is often called a silent killer. You might feel fine, even as your blood pressure creeps up. But over time, sustained hypertension damages your heart, kidneys, brain, and blood vessels. It increases your risk of heart attack, stroke, kidney disease, and cognitive decline. The good news is that dietary changes can make a real difference. Multiple studies have shown that reducing sodium intake and increasing potassium-rich foods can lead to meaningful improvements in blood pressure. One study followed older adults who switched from high-sodium processed foods to a diet rich in vegetables, fruits, and legumes. Over the course of several weeks, participants saw average reductions in systolic blood pressure. While individual results varied, the trend was clear: diet matters. Some participants were able to reduce their medication with their doctor's guidance. Others simply felt better, with less bloating, better energy, and improved sleep. It's also important to recognize that managing blood pressure isn't just about what you eat. Physical activity, stress management, adequate sleep, and maintaining a healthy weight all play roles. But diet is one of the most controllable factors. You make food choices multiple times a day, and each choice is an opportunity to support your health or undermine it. Let's also talk about reading labels more effectively. Sodium content is listed per serving, but pay attention to how many servings are in the container. A can might contain 2 or even 2.5 servings, meaning if you eat the whole thing, you need to multiply the sodium amount accordingly. Ingredients are listed in descending order by weight, so if salt appears in the first few ingredients, that's a red flag. Watch for hidden sources of sodium. Words like sodium benzoate, sodium citrate, or monosodium glutamate all contribute to your total intake. Some people ask whether sea salt or Himalayan salt is better than regular table salt. The truth is, from a sodium perspective, they're virtually identical. Sea salt and specialty salts may contain trace minerals, but the amounts are negligible and the sodium content is the same. If you're trying to lower your blood pressure, all forms of salt should be limited. Potassium is another key player in blood pressure regulation. Foods rich in potassium include bananas, sweet potatoes, spinach, beans, and tomatoes. Incorporating these into your soups can be beneficial. However, if you have kidney disease or are on certain medications, you need to be cautious with potassium intake. This is another reason to work with your healthcare provider. Hydration also matters. Some older adults don't drink enough water, which can concentrate sodium in the bloodstream and affect blood pressure. Soups do provide some hydration, but they shouldn't be your only fluid source. Aim for adequate water intake throughout the day, adjusting based on your activity level and climate. Now, let's address a common misconception. Some people believe that if they sweat a lot or exercise, they need extra salt. For most seniors living in temperate climates and engaging in moderate activity, this isn't necessary. Your body is quite efficient at conserving sodium when needed. Unless you're engaging in intense, prolonged exercise in hot conditions, you're probably getting more than enough sodium from your regular diet, even without adding salt. Another question that comes up is whether organic or natural soups are safer. Organic refers to how ingredients are grown, not to sodium content. A soup can be organic and still contain excessive salt. Always check the nutrition label, regardless of whether the product is labeled organic, natural, or conventional. For those who enjoy dining out, restaurant soups can be particularly problematic. Chefs often add generous amounts of salt to enhance flavor, and portion sizes tend to be large. If you eat out, consider ordering soup as an appetizer and sharing it, or ask if a low-sodium option is available. Don't hesitate to request nutritional information. Many restaurants now provide this. As we wrap up, remember that knowledge is power. Understanding which soups to avoid and which to embrace puts you in control of your health. You don't have to be perfect. If you occasionally have a higher sodium soup, it's not the end of the world. The key is making better choices most of the time. Over weeks and months, these small changes accumulate into significant health benefits. If you found this information helpful, consider sharing it with friends or family members who might also benefit. Many seniors are unaware of how their food choices affect their blood pressure. By spreading awareness, you're helping others take control of their health. Before you go, take a moment to think about your own soup consumption. Which type do you eat most often? Are you ready to make a change? Your body will thank you, your blood pressure may improve, And you might even discover that you enjoy cooking more than you expected. Small steps today can lead to a healthier, more vibrant tomorrow.